Hey guys, welcome. It's Dr. Bush. This is the process. We are hitting my week 2 video lesson on targets and opportunities, attempts, these kind of things. I think you can talk about the word opportunities. That's a key aspect in fantasy football, and I think you've got to pay attention if you're interested in moving forward with your learning about this great endeavor. So this article will be up on Fake Pigskin coming up, and please go and see the visuals, which were pretty much what I'll be narrating here. So you can use this to hear what I'm thinking, not just what you're seeing. And I think there's a lot of information out there, and I would love for you to go to my lesson in my classroom, and the topic is too much information, does that increase your accuracy in predictions? Okay, so read it, see what you think. uh, I think we've basically got a lot of information out there, and sometimes, especially if you're starting out, how do you get through all that? And so that's why I did my video lessons. I've got 100 lessons in my classroom, and I'll do much more next off season. And you can tag along. This is not a year journey. This is years. Okay, takes many years to be educated, and it really never stops. Okay, I'm always learning every day myself. So I don't want you to end up being dependent on me. I would love to show you how to fish so you can go catch your own fish. Okay, unfortunately, in this business, there are many that would just love for you to buy their fish, and they don't care if you learn how or not, right? And there's that fine line that we all walk as uh, people trying to help others in fantasy, and that's an issue, and you need to think about that. Where you're getting your information, and what their journey is, and how does it sync with what you're trying to do. I know it's quick and easy to grab one sheet of paper and figure it all out. Here's the answers. If this player's number 39 and I've got compared in number 40, I'll take number 39. I wish it was that simple. There'd be one pundit then, right? If everybody kind of knew everything, then there wouldn't be so many people clamoring, because there's so many ways to approach this game, and there's not necessarily one big answer to things. There's a lot of uncertainty that we face in fantasy football learning and decision making, and that's probably the hardest thing we do. What is our main opponent is ourselves and our process, and so I'm trying to help you do that. I'm not out there beating the drums on Twitter. That's just not my style. Uh, I'm co-host with a podcast through the Fake Pigskin. D. Mike and myself do that every Tuesday, so please listen as well to that. And I try to do 3 articles a week. I've already put my snaps out. I'll do the targets and attempts, and then I'll do matchup probably Saturday. You ever wondered how everybody gets all that out Tuesday? I I don't know how they do it. That tells me they're either taking shortcuts or they're just giving you a very little amount. It takes me a while. Now, I actually look at this data and consider it and think about it as well. So there's no way I could get the amount of material that I use uh, uh, on a Tuesday after the week's over. I don't know how that's done. Okay. And so I'm getting it out the best I can get it as fast as I can. So what we have here beginning off are the targets per team. And again, I like to look at the big picture first and then go into the positions and players. So I go a top-down approach. So I sorted this by total targets that has been recorded, and I've colorized the teams that are at the top and the teams at the bottom and the ones in the middle. So it's a green, uncolored, and red. So on average, have some extra concerns about those teams at the bottom, and try to move forward to teams that are producing more targets, especially in PPR and for pass catchers on your team. I've got week 1 and 2. There was some overtime games, and though that's some of the high numbers here, we'll figure all that out. But for now, you see what I've done here. I've colorized each column week 1 and week 2. That's W1, W2. The grand total, high to low, and then I scaled to the league average, and I always scale to the league average because when somebody says 89 and 41, okay, yeah, that's different, but how different is it? Well, if you scale it, then the 89 is really 22 times above the league average, and New Orleans was minus, and that was Detroit. New Orleans was minus 26 below. So to me, that seems to tell more of a story, okay, and easier learning than 89 and 41, okay. That's my bias. So I do the scale here, and so that's what it's what I go through first, so I kind of get a feel for the teams that are doing a lot of passing. Doesn't mean they're doing a lot of scoring, but at least they're trying to get opportunities out there, and that is going to work over a long period of time. Okay, as far as PPR and whatnot. Yeah, it doesn't, count the rushing side of this or whatnot, but at least we have a foundation to look at, and that's what I do. This will be updated every week. I'll probably get to about 6 weeks block, maybe 8, and then shut it down. So eventually I will move past the early season and keep kind of looking at a broad spectrum there. And in the bye weeks, people are going to be scrambling and going crazy out here on Twitter. You think it's crazy now, wait till the bye weeks. Oh my goodness. And wait till you see your league. People are going to come unraveled, okay, during the bye weeks. There's going to be all sorts of people dropping players and making lots of mistakes. Sometimes the best decision is no decision. You just remember that. The best trade is no trade. Okay, so it's better to let others make mistakes, and a lot of times that benefits you. So just, be prepared to capitalize on crazy times. This is scaled to the league average of total targets. Grand total is GT. Okay, I just kept that there scaled. And we see Detroit to New Orleans, and I bracketed the high and the low. And another thing about the data is usually the extremes are more actionable than the mid and the average. Okay. So, for instance, the Jets are ahead of Denver. That in this range, I kind of feel like, that really doesn't bother me. When I get to this area, now I'm paying a little more attention to the positive, and in here I'm getting a little bit concerned about the negative. Okay, not one metric says it and does it all. Okay, that's another thing. That's why I have to go through a lot of aspects to finally make a decision. Okay, you can't use one piece of data necessarily and make bold decisions. So be cautious. Like I said, the best decision sometimes is no decision. So now I'll go through and break it into the positions of each team. So I got 4 teams per figure for block, and I've got total targets per position per team, and then percentage of the total targets of the team. And most likely, most teams are going to have more targets to wide receivers and tending to have fewest targets to running backs. And tight ends tend to be closer to the running backs, and wide receivers tend to be much higher. Part of it is a lot of times you're only talking one really functioning quarterback, and a lot of times maybe 1 or 2 running backs. So you don't have a lot of players to be attacking, whereas in wide receivers, a lot of teams have 4 or 5 that are going to get some targets. So that's some of the skew there. And I'll talk about how we kind of dig into that here. But in this kind of data, I just use the colorization and see what's striking. And right away, you can see that when a team like Arizona or Buffalo is hitting at 70% their wide receivers versus Atlanta and even, Baltimore at 60, I mean, you're thinking, I want a piece of that pie, and that's probably true. On the other hand, look at the tight ends and look at Buffalo at 9%. That's troubling. Okay, so that would concern me. And Buffalo really with the running backs at 13% is pretty weak sauce, and Arizona has that. Notice Atlanta has much more targets, 22%, and their tight ends, 25. So you're kind of picking your spots here, and this is one way to kind of like an opportunity detector here. This is one way to start getting that. Okay. And again, if you need to come back, feel free when you take notes, right? You were in school, you took notes, take notes here. Listen to me, listen again. You're saying, I don't have time. Well, all I can tell you is the more time you spend, probably the more likely you're going to do better. Okay. I know there's people get lucky and, flip in at the last minute and flip around. Hey, it happens. In the big scheme of things, there always are the extremes. But year after year, I think that catches up with people who try to short term. I call them, those people want the fire and they'll chop the wood later. As a scientist and becoming trained, we chop the wood first, then we can burn it, right? So wood chopping first, and then you get your fire. And this is part of that chopping process. So, this is my process. This is something, and there's probably not a lot of people listening. So thanks for the few that are. Good for you. I hope that this enhances your journey on this lifetime endeavor here. I think once you're hooked, uh, and you're listening to me, you're probably all in, and I'm all in. Let me tell you, Carolina. Look at Cincinnati, 75%. Look at, say, Cleveland. Wow, has Cleveland had a rough 2 weeks? Landry's out. OBJ is just coming back in. So I think that number is going to get better. But they've been relying on their tight ends, and we hadn't been able to take advantage because they've been splitting those up between Hooper and Njoku. So that's not been helpful. So Cincinnati, I wouldn't play their tight ends. Okay. Carolina is McCaffrey there at 25% and the wide receivers. Uh, and looks like Chicago is kind of like Carolina. So you start seeing patterns like teams that are all in on wide receivers, like Arizona, Buffalo, teams that are a little more balanced. Cleveland's a little more balanced. Doesn't mean it's better, just means it's, the targets are kind of being distributed. Look at Cincinnati, they're all in on passing. Okay, so you probably want a piece of that action. So that kind of thing is going on here. Here's Dallas. They're pretty much all in. Notice Green Bay is starting to get all in, but Denver is, let's not worry about our running backs, so that's not good for either, right? In a PPR league, it never helps to have low targeting running backs. That doesn't help your PPR here. Detroit's getting close to balance here. So you probably want a piece of the running backs. And Hawkinson's been doing well, 22%. Noah Fant in a 35% for Denver. Those are some really nice numbers. Here's Houston. They're kind of all in on passing. Jacksonville's all in. Kansas City would be more all in if it wasn't for Kelsey at 29. But people say, well, how come the running backs and this and that and that? Well, 8%, they're not getting targeted. Kansas City is weak in running backs, and they're not addressing that. They're going with their strength. And if that allows them to win, they should do what they need to do. Indianapolis is a little more balanced with its running backs. You want a piece of that action. And the tight ends at 23, that's starting to get my attention. Trouble is, is it Doyle? I think it might be. I picked him up in some leagues this week. Chargers, they're strongly in with their wide receivers. The Rams, all in. Oh my, they're like Kansas City, even more extreme because they're not even using their tight end, Higbee. The Raiders, they're using their Waller, and that is means their wide receivers are not getting 45%'s weak, so you probably don't want a big piece of that. Running backs are okay, 20%. It's not the best. Miami's 24%. Hate to see Grasecki getting, kind of lost here in the shuffle. Looking to see what Fuller's going to do. Watch to see if this number, goes up. Watching that closely. Minnesota, a little bit of action with Cook, but they're all in with Thielen and Jefferson. New England's balanced, folks. So, I'm not sure how much of action you want other than the running backs here. Tight ends, they're splitting it. Okay. And really, the running backs, White is getting a lot of run, so that helps. That definitely helps. New Orleans is really in a bind here. Will the real team step up? I'm really concerned that even if Thomas gets back, that this becomes how they play, and that doesn't bode well, in my opinion, for New Orleans. They're probably going to be up and down a lot with some extremes. Be cautious here. Barkley's not getting a lot of action. It's all the passing right now. Maybe if Barkley is healthy, maybe if Ingram comes back, this goes down. But right now, it's all passing. Jets are all in passing. Philadelphia is kind of balancing it out a little bit, so their wide receivers are not getting their due. They're spreading it elsewhere, so it's good if you've got investing elsewhere, but bad if you're here with the wide receivers. Pittsburgh all in here, so Harris is just not getting the show done pass catching. So you better hope he has a good rushing game. So that means, for instance, the subtlety that implies that if they're playing, Pittsburgh's playing an away game, or they're playing a team that's rough on, stopping the run, then the Harris is going to be in a bind. Because sometimes if you've got a good pass catching running back, kind of like an Eckler or CMC, then you can kind of, if the run is not working, you can hit him with passes a lot. Cleveland tries to do that by Chubb-Hunt ratio there. Seattle, all about the passing. It's all about the passing in Seattle. San Francisco, look at Kittle, 17%. I know that's got to go up. And their running backs have been getting a lot of action, and that's cost the wide receivers, folks. Tampa Bay, Brady's scoring because of Gronk, and he's a master at manipulating and doing a management of these targets. So that's fine. Probably what you're seeing in teams that are a little more balanced is if they have a great quarterback, that can work. Okay. Tennessee, kind of like Tampa Bay, really, some ways. Washington, kind of like Tampa Bay. So all these, and in fact, probably San Francisco as well, all these are trying to balance a little more here. So that means their wide receivers probably are going to have some up and down weeks. So just be aware of that. So you need to get a feel for the tendency of the whole position. So if we look at the teams by position and you sort it from percentage of the team targets, you can see the highs and the lows, and I colorize. So New Orleans, Detroit, Indianapolis, New England, Carolina, etc., all the ones in green are strong and all in on their running back, whereas KC, Denver, Raiders, Pittsburgh is all out, Seattle. So their RBs are going to have to work and be able to rush a lot to counterbalance not getting a lot of targets. So just consider the team's tendency in 2 weeks. This, by the way, doesn't mean this is how it's going to be when you look and say week 10. This is what we're dealing with now. I mean, you like to see some teams that have been quiet and then all of a sudden in a week or two they're moving up. Sometimes you can catch that with trades or waivers before people are awake that, because they're kind of in their mindset, they're only remembering, early part. Oh yeah, the Kansas City RBs, they suck. That might change. So you've got to be moving as the ball is moving. I do like visuals. So I give you the percentage of targets from high to low, so you can kind of get another sense of the teams. You can follow them, and the number of targets. So for here's New Orleans is at the highest, but they don't have a lot of targets. But the targets they do are going to the running back, the best of all the other teams. So that's kind of a whammy in the sense that you would rather be Detroit, have a lot of targets and a lot to the running back. So I would rate their crew much higher, right, than, New Orleans. See, all these are pretty good here. So just be aware, it's really Kamara here. So just keep that in mind as well. And be concerned about this on this side, the bottom. Tight end, Cleveland number one, they're splitting. Fant is number 2. Waller's number 3. Target-wise, New Orleans is number 4. That's probably surprising. It's just they don't have anybody to take advantage of that. Here's Kelsey. Here's 2 more targets. Here's Pitts, and then here's Doyle, folks. Doyle is up there. Don't forget him. The problem with Cleveland, New England is there's too many mouths. Good stat, bad situation, though. And you can kind of see, look, the highest targets tend to be the highest usage. Cleveland, Denver, and Vegas here. So that's really nice to see that. So if you invested in Waller, you're collecting. I think Fant's going to come through for us. I collected a lot of him too. Wide receivers, Buffalo number 1, and they were strong last year. The Rams number 2. Cincinnati might be a surprise. But they're, of course, they got 3 there, so that's kind of cutting the pie. Pittsburgh's cutting the pie, but they're number 4. Seattle only really has 2, so that helps. The Giants have 3-way, but Shepard's been pretty good. Arizona's got a lot to spread. Jacksonville and Dallas. So the top teams also have a lot of good players, good wide receivers. On the bottom, of course, is Cleveland. They really hadn't had their full complement. We hadn't seen Cleveland yet, so don't get too discouraged until Landry and OBJ are back, and give that a couple weeks, and then I think we'll have a snapshot. Trouble is, people want to do and figure it out now, and then, oh, okay, I got this figured for the season. Well, they're trying to have the fire without chopping the wood. Okay, so you're being chastised by the professor here. Okay, so here's the same thing. And notice there's a lot more of a flat line here in usage. It only gets really crazy crackers kind of in this range here. Okay, so there's definitely issues here. Okay, be cautious. But it's a passing league, and just you can see the data is showing that. Okay, even the best, right, is, Jacksonville and Dallas are right there. The Chargers are right there. Minnesota's pretty good. Pittsburgh's pretty good. So there you go. So I made this. I guess if you have to have your one sheet, okay, I made it. So you take your camera out. You can freeze this. Take a picture of it. Then there you go. Or if you're at the bar or something, swilling back some beer, then I guess you can use this to tweak your lineups. Okay. This is just for you guys, but it is a one sheet, so I guess I gave into it a little bit. All the students, tell us what's on the test. Okay, this is what's on the test. But there's more data than just high, low, and average, folks. But there it is. Okay, so now let's go to the player level. So I'm going to go team by team here. Week 1 and 2 and the sum of the targets. And then just kind of notice things that jump out at you. So in Arizona, even though they got Connor, looks like Edmonds is getting all the targets. Max Williams is coming on. Look at that, week 2. Is that real? I picked him up in a few leagues, even though Arizona traditionally doesn't use its tight ends. Maybe they've turned over a new leaf. So, if you didn't invest anything, I think I'd spend $1 because people were not looking yet. But there it is. Rondale Moore, everybody's getting a lot of attention, but if you look at 2 weeks data, it's almost a 4-way split here. Yeah, he had a good week too. He was at the bottom tied week 1. So I don't know. What are we gonna get week 3? Somewhere between the two? Say six targets? I don't know. Atlanta Davis is getting the action. Keith Smith's not. Pitts got 6. He was started out at 8, but look at Hurst. So I thought Hurst would get more action. I actually dropped him. Probably overreacted, but if Pitts gets hurt, then people are going to be jumping back on Hurst. Ridley actually improved week 2, so that makes me feel good. But Gage and this Patterson guy what is he? Is he a running back, a wide receiver? I don't know. He doesn't know, doesn't care. So it looks like Ridley and then a mix and a scrum for who's next there. I think Gage is worth a shot. I think Patterson, people probably spent a lot of money on him, but he had less targets than Gage, so I don't know. Targets, Baltimore's forgetting about their running backs here. Okay, week 1, week 2. Uh-oh. Andrews gets 5. Andrews needs 10, folks. Watkins and Brown are the show. That's just how it's going to be. So, by the way, this is much better than it was last year. So these are nice numbers here. Moss catching a few points, coming back with 2. May have cut Singletary a little bit. See that 2, 2, 3, 5. There it is. So Singletary may have lost a little bit of opportunity here. Knox at 3. That's just not going to get it. Diggs at 8. Sanders 6 and Beasley. So Sanders and Beasley are flip-flopping. Not sure who's the real number 2 yet. I guess Diggs is the number 1. CMC getting 6 targets. I would rather have 9. Arnold, not usable. Moore is 11. That's nice. Anderson doubled. The rookie dropped down, so I'm curious. What are we going to see here for the number 2 guy? Maybe game screen. And this guy, I think, caught a touchdown with 3, so he came out of nowhere. Williams, pass catcher. Montgomery's kind of caught up with him, so we'll see what happens. Commit with 1. Oh, man. Chicago's making a mistake not using him. Moore, Mooney. Mooney was number 1 last week. What is going on? Robinson, they shut him down? This is confusing because they end up, who's the number 1 here? People used a lot of draft capital, myself included here, on Robinson versus Mooney. If we were drafting in the summer and we knew the first 2 weeks, would we draft Robinson lower or Mooney higher? Interesting. Nixon, he's that's not a good thing. Tight end and Higgins, Boyd, notice Chase dropped down, folks. So is the rookie gonna drop down a little bit? Look like it was gonna be a 3-way, but then it's this. So maybe Boyd and Higgins collect a little bit. Clearly, that's where the targets are on this team. Take a look at the target number over here. Cleveland, look at this. You don't see 15, 13, 11. Here's 16 right there. But look, they're spreading it out. So that helps no one. So that's, and then this guy got 4 targets. So we got 3 viable tight ends now. That is wacky. So I'm hoping that we'll see when OBJ gets back. You would think he would step in and get 5 targets, but I don't think he needs 10. So I'm staying away from Cleveland. I'm not happy about week 2 at all. Dallas looks like Lamb and Cooper. Gallup was hurt, so you would have thought they would have got more. This Wilson got 2. I don't know. Jarwin, Schultz dropped. I don't know what we can think. Pollard got 3 targets. Ezekiel 2. Pollard's going to draw a little bit of opportunities here. Look, 7 versus 4, so that's not good. Nice 21-24, so that's good. Good to see that. Denver love no offense numbers here. Running backs are not getting a lot of opportunity. It's Sutton and then the rest. So I hope folks kept Sutton and didn't get crazy on Patrick or Hamler. Okay, when Judy comes back, I think he'll be the 2 or the 1. So some people may have dropped him, so just keep your eyes on that. Detroit, not too bad if you look at over 2 weeks. So but they sure dropped down. Hawkinson stayed the same, so I really like that. It's the wide receivers that are the issue, folks. And Williams is out again this week, so good luck picking amongst these 3 or 4 here. I think they're going to do RBs and tight end. Hawkinson, that's how they're going to play it, with a few of these sprinkled in. Aaron Jones really woke up. Boy, that's good. We love to see that. Tanyan got some action, but he really didn't get more targets. Adams went up a little bit. Cobb went up. Aaron Rodgers wanted Cobb. Maybe Cobb's starting to learn the playbook. Maybe don't be surprised if Cobb slips in and gets something this week. He may be an early week 4 waiver wire wonder. If he can go up 2 or 3 more, he'll be the clear number 2. Just saying. Houston, it is very murky in the running backs. I'd hate to have a piece. I don't have a strong piece. I didn't draft any of those high, and I don't think many people did. They may have wasted a little bit of money on Lindsey, and that's probably been a disappointment. Tight ends, people were jumping on the Pharaoh Brown, but week 2 got 1 target. I'm staying away. Cooks is the dog right there. Go for him. Okay, but this is not the week to trade for him. Wait till he has a down week or 2 and then jump on. Good luck picking whoever else is out there. Looks like Doyle picked up while the running backs flopped. So, and then Pittman really. So this game had a different script. Looks like week 1, it was all, passes out of the backfield. And week 2, it was tied in the Pittman show, Doyle Pittman. I'm telling you, pick Doyle up. That's a nice 8 targets is good for this team. Pascal, he's probably your 3rd target in this for week 2. It's just, what does this mean between these 2? I probably need to have a little more love time to research that. You should too. What's the difference? Why? Robinson getting a few targets, but really dropped in half. So over 2 weeks, that's okay. Tight ends, Shaughnessy's hurt. I think he was a 1-week flash. Step back. Jones, Chenault, Jones is going to be probably the number one. I know that's making Shark and Chenault owners mad. I think they're going to fight for the number two spot. I'm glad I invested a lot in Jones. Not a lot, but I picked him up. Kansas City, let's forget the running backs. Kelsey, Hardman, that was very intriguing. And it looks like Demarcus Robinson got a pick with. So they must have really picked on Tyreek Hill. And so when that script happened, it looks like these two get more opportunities. So look at week 2, look at the defense they played, see if that was predictable, and that will help you maybe moving forward here. Because clearly, on the weeks where Tyreek can get loose, he's going to be a target hog there. The Chargers. Let's not use Eckler, but on week 2, let's give him 9. So I'm going to say that's good, and Eckler's is back with opportunities. Cook dropped down a little bit because Eckler stepped up, so bad news for Cook owners. Williams and Allen are the 1A and the B, folks. I kind of was buying this guy, Guyton, for $1. Probably worth it in case one of these gets injured. Henderson, I guess Michelle may be taking over if Henderson's hurt. 5 targets, not so good. Higbee, are you kidding me? People are getting a sad surprise there. Cup and Woods. Woods has got a lot of targets, folks, so don't get down on him yet. Jefferson looks like he's the injury handcuff kind of guy. Vegas looks like Drake is doing what Drake does, especially when Jacobs was hurt. Waller came back to earth, but still 7 is okay. So 19's too much. 7's probably the floor. So ceiling and floor. So I'm hoping 10 this week. Renfro is steady, the steady one, and Ruggs looks like the 2. So you may be able to pick Renfro up cheap. He's a stab play, maybe in daily fantasy. Gaskins gets 5, and it looks like nothing changed week 1. Gesicki finally got some targets here. Love to see that. Don't know how he's going to behave with if Tua, I think, is out. So is it Bissett? I don't know what that means. Parker, Waddle, Wilson jumped up. So do we have a 3-way scrum here? Did Wilson? I don't know. So that's, if you own these, and then Fuller's coming back. So you would assume that Wilson drops back down and Fuller gets in this mess. I don't know if there's enough targets to support 3 in Miami. I'm not happy about that. Minnesota, Cook really dropped down. That sucked. Conklin, It's Jefferson, Thielen, and everybody was jumping on Osborne. I picked him up last week. Week 1, look at there. See, I saw this and said, okay, there's your 3 for sure. Maybe on some weeks a 2. So I've got him in every league I could get him cheap, like $1. How about that? And my fab budget, most of my league is $1,000. So that should just tell you I got him for free, basically. Hoorah! James White, doing good. This is what I expect. Let's cut each other's throat. 9's great, but not split between 2. That's a great T-bone steak unless you cut it in 2. Then I'm still hungry. Myers, I guess, is the one. I don't know if you can make a living on Aguilar or Bourne. So if I had Aguilar, if I didn't see any improvement, or I'm not sure I'd keep him too long. Not sure you paid a lot for him anyway. Kamara got 6 targets. That was good. Troutman was hurt, so Jawan got 3, so that not good. What the hell's going on with the 4 is the top. New Orleans is going nowhere here, folks. If they've got to hit 10, the some ain't right. This whole thing is bad news. Barkley is Barkley. I think we overdrafted him. Hopefully Ingram comes back and can collect about 8 or 10 a week. So probably Slayton or somebody takes a hit if Ingram comes back. So just be aware of a shift here. I think Slayton's a good shot, maybe a flex or something this week. 6 targets, maybe a gamble. I drafted Shepard everywhere, so I'm pleased about his performance. Carter's still in there, so some people dropped him week 1. He might be worth a stash and hope. Forget the tight ends. Berrios at 11 and Moore at 8. Davis was targeted, so I did pick Berrios up. I mean, I can't ignore 18 targets over 2 weeks. So, and I was able to pick him up fairly cheap, folks. People are still not awake to that. I'm just underwhelmed by his skills. I think Davis is still the better one, and Moore's the number 2. But that's how the targets flew. Gainwell's going to get about 3 for Philadelphia. It's like, Ertz and Goddard, that sucked. Devonta Smith and Rager looks like 7 and 5. I'd rather see 10 and 8. So I'm concerned that those guys are your wide receiver 3 types. Pittsburgh, Harris got some run with targets. That's good. He needs that. Ebron, I thought maybe had a shot, but looks like this other guy is going to muddy the water here. I would stay away. Johnson, Schuster, Claypool. If Johnson can't go, looks like you got Schuster, Claypool. And don't be surprised if Washington scores. You got Friday and Saturday to grab Washington if Johnson is out, or play him in the tournament daily fantasy sports. Seattle, Carson didn't even get a target, so that sucks. Everett can't play. Metcalf and Lockett, people got Swain a little bit. That's fine. Probably worth $1, but I still like Osborne better in Minnesota. He's being used more. But Swain would be a good injury guy to have around. Frisco, who knows what we're going to get. I don't even know who the running back is. Kittle at 4. You did not draft Kittle number 3 to get 4 targets a week. It's not good for Kittle, care what they say. Samuel with 8. People really jumped on Ayuk at 2. Man, I think Samuel, or I'd stay away. Fournette looks like the target play, but Jones got 3 targets, so maybe he's getting out of that, struggling out of the doghouse. Gronk at 5 and still gets tons of scores. Good for him. Evans, it was an Evans week. It was not a Godwin week. The week before it was flipped. So that's not going to be good, because then you're going to have to guess who gets theirs. I would love to see this a little bit more steady and consistent. Henry did really good. Of course he did. Let's split targets amongst 20 tight ends. That's not good. Brown and Jones. I'd hate to play Rodgers. I guess he's the injury guy. Times are tough if you're grabbing him, but I could see it. McKissick got 6. That's what you drafted him for right there. Last week, getting 6 targets. That is what we grabbed him for. Thomas at 7. We need about 10, but 7 will take. I've been grabbing Humphreys and Brown just to have. I think they might be worthy of a stream. McLaurin's probably the only one I'd try to steadily play. Just be aware. Just memorize week 1, folks. Okay, so here are the top running backs for the team in terms of targets. I just showed you the top group here from 16 to 7. Okay. Okay, coming back. So this is just bookkeeping. Let you look and see who's what. Hines went down. That's not good. Jamal Williams, Detroit went down. So you can see some of the failures here. Eckler's back. That's good. So that's what I use this picture for, is taking the top, what is this, 2022, and just kind of comparing the weeks. Love to see that. So just look at the variation, right? The most steady were White and Davis, and Drake was steady. So look at the steady and look at the more extremes. Here's some more of the next group. Just look to see. Henderson woke up. Hasty, Montgomery. That's the ones that catch my eye. Waller, Hawkinson, Kelsey, Pitts, Fant. Doyle is up there as well, folks. So if the season was canceled, Doyle would be your, what is it, 8th tight end. He's not being drafted he wasn't drafted as the 8th tight end. I can tell you that. So be aware. I think that, Kittle's underperforming. I did pick up some of Max Williams here. Not happy to see Kemet. A lot of variation here. Not happy. I understand that's the way it is, but I don't have to be happy about it. Okay, so Waller came back to earth. So it was Hawkinson, Doyle, Kelsey. 1, 2, 3 last week. A few catch my eye, but nothing dramatic. The top went McLaurin at 14 and Cooks. Really love that. But look at the week before. People want to know why fantasy drives people crazy. Look at this. Cooper 16 to 5, 7 to 14, 4 to 14, 14 to 5, 15 to 4. So be aware. That's why this is a hard game, because it is not steady. Targets are not steady. Game scripts change. So you just got to be aware and consider more consistent players. Okay, and I think you can read the articles on weekly values by my partner in crime at Fake Pigskin, D Mike. You should check him out. I use other methods, but like I said, multiple ways to succeed in this game, and I think D Mike's on to something. He's a sharp fella. Follow him on Twitter. Follow him twice if you can. I look at Pittman, woke up at 12. Cortland Sutton woke up. Metcalf and Lockett. Look at Shark. Boy, can you imagine owning Shark and seeing this? boy, you'd be mad. So just be aware. If this doesn't bring it home, look at Robinson. Folks, do expect change, and you hope it's good change like this, not like that. Here's some more data here you can look and see. So just peruse through, and your take home would be that consistency, if you can find it, is a gem in fantasy football. And here's some more here. Okay, so this is now moving to running backs only. So from now on, the rest of the talk will go through the running backs. And we have something called opportunities. So you just sum the attempts versus targets kind of thing. You add them up, and that's your running back opportunity, because they're the only ones that have two ways to go here. The top teams with the top opportunities that I scaled up to the league average: Houston, Tennessee, Carolina, New England, Indianapolis, Detroit, Minnesota, Cincinnati. So that's good news for those running backs. They're getting lots of opportunities. Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Seattle, Jacksonville, the Giants, Atlanta, Rams, and Buffalo, not as much opportunities. Be concerned. Be cautious. Figure out what's the script this week. Okay, don't blindly just plug players in without giving some due consideration. Pittsburgh minus 18. Houston plus 21 on opportunities. That is a great floor to ceiling situation. Look and study. Notice the variation continues here. Carolina, Houston, pretty steady. Okay, take a look at consistency. Here's just the visuals, seeing the better teams and the worst teams for opportunities. Like I said, you can't really pick, okay, Washington and Arizona. Okay, no, you can kind of, this is pretty much a tier. This is kind of a tier. This is kind of a tier. Maybe a sub-tier. Maybe these 4 and these 4. Maybe these 5 and these 3. I don't know. But just don't get too crazy to try to nitpick. Which one should I avoid more, Pittsburgh or Kansas City? Both. Versus, if you can find some viability here. Now remember, some of these crews have lots of mouths to feed, and it would be simple if these stats were all you needed. They're just the beginning to get a flavor, right? This is the scoop of the ice cream frosting. Just, I'm gonna like this. Or nah, it's a little bitter. So here's the team, the player, the rushing, the passing. I do a rushing versus targets ratio here. So the higher the ratio, the more skewed to the rushing. And then the opportunities and points. How much do they score? Take their points, divide by the number of opportunities, and you get numbers. The higher the number, the more points they scored. So that's probably a good sign. Purple colored players there, like Edmonds, is skewed, has a lot of good passing. Connor is all rushing, and that's the orange player. So, and if I don't have a skew color, then it's not enough data, or they're about the same. So I wouldn't call them. So go through here, kind of see who's the pass catcher, who's the rusher, see what the game script figures this week. Okay, this is kind of another way. So for Davis, I'm looking, is the defense that you're playing tough against rushing, or are they tough against pass catching running backs? Big difference on how you might look at him. Okay, so use this data here as a way to start grouping these running backs into categories and apply that to how the game might unfold. Okay, I do have a matchup. Long story short, I love games where there's a lot of points forecasts. That's always good news for everybody. And then I look at the different defenses there as well. And I also show the points per opportunity and opportunity numbers there in the bar, the red bar here, so you can kind of see. For instance, look at Moss. He scored as many points per opportunity as Singletary's done. And look at the difference in the actual opportunities. So Moss done really good. So you do need to consider that as well. You know, are they good players and just don't have the opportunity? That's probably what that says. So if something were to happen, Moss should really perk up. That kind of thing. So that's how I use this as continued Ouija board here on this. Here's some more information. I'll just go through the visuals here. Some are probably never going to get opportunities, even though they have good points per opportunity. So there is what, there is what there is. But somebody like Williams is a great handcuff because he's getting a lot of opportunities as a second play. So I do pay attention. Of course, Hunt and Chubb probably cut each other, so that's not so good. You can look at this. Here's Dallas. Look at Tony Pollard, points for opportunity. If something happens to Ezekiel, Pollard is a great handcuff. So is Gordon if something happens. Either one of those. But Gordon's better points per opportunity. Look at Jamal Williams, points per opportunity. Look at that difference. So I do look at these skewed differences to kind of rate if you're in trades or, probably won't find these on the waiver wire, but just trades, you can get a sense. People may be looking at this number without considering that. And so I'm giving you both. Same thing here. Here's, Kansas City, Darrell Williams. Actually, look at that. If CEH got out of his way, he may really jump up. Hyde could jump up better than you think, probably. That kind of thing. So here's David Johnson and Lindsey could really jump up if something happened to Ingram. That kind of thing. So start planning and looking at the handcuffs in a little bit different way. Take a look at that. Same thing. Here's Roundtree is not, to me. I like Jackson for more opportunities, points scored. Okay. People are debating, it's not if Eckler, but when Eckler, who to take. I'm probably leaning here if I just had 2 weeks of data. Hopefully we'll get more information, right? So keep watching. Same thing here. Looks at James White. I think he would be he may not be the exact handcuff, but he's going to be very valuable. Alexander Madison, look at that. Better than Dalvin. Look at that. Nice. Okay. So just keep your eyes open. If something happened to Kamara, I actually think Ty Montgomery might have more kick than you think here. So if you're a Kamara owner and you have a deep bench, you might hog both of these guys if you have a place to keep them. Don't know if you do, but if you do, I was looking at that earlier this morning. Here's another one. Gainwell certainly figures. Snell, nah. Pittsburgh's in trouble. Uh, it is hard to tell who's Carson's guy. I guess Dallas, maybe? Maybe. Take a look at Hasty is clearly points per opportunities if he can come back and Mitchell's hurt. McNichols, he's definitely the handcuff here. Look at that. Bernard actually is probably worth more than you think if Fournette goes down. McKissick as well. So that's how I use this, is anticipating change. This is a great stat for anticipating change. That is my 10-cent tour of my targets and attempts and opportunities article. Hope you enjoyed it. Matchups are coming Saturday probably. So pay attention. That should be the last bit of the puzzle for week 3. Hope I'm helping you. Please feel free to subscribe and drop me a comment. Nobody does. I know you won't, but anyway, if you want to, hit me up on Twitter. Okay, take care. This is Dr. Bush for The Process, signing off.